Enter the late 1940s. Finished with celebrating the end of yet another historic war, the world focuses on the new man-made fears which ended it. This new era of atomic diplomacy is one free of terror and mass-armed conflict, replaced instead with nuclear neuroticism and regional armed conflict by proxy. The globe-spanning colonial empires of old have relapsed in favor of a dual hegemony, each power armed to the teeth with its own ideological military-industrial complex. It's under this context that Britain decides it's already time to pack it in and prepare for the next war. And with that, the government wasted no time waving a memorandum over the heads of its aviation industry for a jet-powered bomber. Said bomber had to be capable of dispersing enough nuclear isotopes to split the lithosphere in two, or at the very least, upkeep that strategic bombing near-perfect record of civilian casualties during the war. The same country known for tea, biscuits, and weenie issies were at one point in time manufacturing some of the fiercest looking planes of the Cold War. While the preliminary designs were dreamt up by the same man who gave Britain its previous bomber, the rest of the R&D process was likely conceived in a room engulfed with its own hazy atmosphere of sweat and tobacco fumes. Dozens of engineers hopped up on amphetamines were frantically scribbling triangles across sketch pads for nights on end until they found that perfect one. A fatal crash or two and almost a decade's worth of fine-tuning has led us to the version of the Volatol we all know and love today. The massive delta-wing profile allows the Volatol to generate high lift for its supersonic flight. The wings carry the bomber just high enough so that the curvature of the Earth can distract you from the city centers you're converting into radioactive fireballs. In the off chance you aren't looking to start World War III, the Volatol also has the capacity to hold about 100 conventional bombs too. But I don't know how anything is loaded, given how excessively tiny the Volatol's landing gear are. These measly oleo struts make the aircraft look hella goofy on the tarmac. If that wasn't bad enough, the plane's low profile and massive wingspan will slice anything in half just by taxiing itself on the runway. The moral here is that just like your childhood heroes, the Volatol is much shorter in person. It's also worth noting that the Volatol is equipped with not one, but two defensive turrets located on the top and bottom of the fuselage, though it's safe to say they're not going to stop you from those barrages of homing rockets. In addition to its massive wingspan, the Volatol stays in the air thanks to its quad-turbojet engines. These monstrous power plants give a considerable amount of thrust, relative to the monstrous size and weight of the airplane. That said, the Volatol handles like an anvil. You're gonna have to pre-plan and book ahead if you want to change the aircraft's yaw even slightly. While a wing of Volatol stood ready at the tarmac during the Cuban Missile Crisis, waiting for an excuse to loom over Soviet cities, this gigantic plane only ever saw one conflict. You see, nearly 40 tons of petrochemicals got this behemoth less than an 8-hour shift of airtime, so long-range missions against the Soviets were beginning to raise questions. Later into the game, the Soviets had even established surface-to-air missiles capable of knocking out high-altitude spy planes. Things weren't looking very good. So aside from partially destroying an Argentinian airstrip, the Volatol finished its service with a whimper rather than the bang it was built for. Perhaps the final nail in the coffin was the rise of the ICBM. The Volatol fell into the same predicament that almost every post-war bomber had. Military science made bombing foreign powers a job that could be done from the comfort of one's own country, all at the push of a button. The Volatol might have vanished from Her Majesty's hangar like invisible ink, yet it marked a significantly different time in the world. The plane embodied the duality of Western pride and paranoia with a timeless aesthetic rivaled only by the Progen GP1. It'll still look relevant in 50 years, I guarantee it. Thankfully, as we moved on, the nuclear Mexican standoff had silently shifted into silos and submarines. Unlike in the Volatol's time, the threat of nuclear missile strikes are no longer on the top of our fear priority list. Right? Well, when in doubt, buy iodine pills, I guess.